linen page will take me here. When I come back to image gallery, fine. Nothing on favorites, upload and achieved. All right. So what is the difference here? Now you can see the difference. Now where your image is magnified? Is it magnified in the same as a child component? Is it magnified in the same page, in the same component, inside same component? Are you getting it as a child component, or you are loading it as a different component?
Different component.
It is loading as a different component. Whereas in our previous case, if I click on some image, it used to be load in the right side itself as a child component. But here it is taking me to a different page. Here it is taking me to a different page. Let me serve the previous one also. Nested routes. ng serve hub. Let this also open. Let's wait for 2 minutes. So this is our previous case, nested. Now when I click on one image, it is taking me here itself. So this is one entire component. This entire page is one component for me, right? This entire page is one component. This entire page is one component for me. Now inside this page itself, I want to add a child component. So what I'm doing when I click, I'm adding one child component here. I'm adding one child component here. That child component is going to display a magnified image. Based on what? Based on whatever image I'm clicking, based on that it is loading. So this image ID from my main page, ID of this image is passed to your child component. Am I right? ID of the image is passed to the child component, and that child component is magnifying that image and displaying. So this is also fetching all the information. Main component is also fetching all the information from services. This child component is also fetching the information from service, but based on the ID, it is fetching the information and it is magnifying and displaying. Yes, this part is clear, right? Whatever we discussed yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get the response from more people as it's a bright morning?
Yes.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Yes.
Okay. But now, what is the case now? In our third demo, what is happening? Are we getting it in the same page? No. We are sending it to the separate component. It is not my child component. So what is happening? Whatever image I'm clicking here, that ID has to be taken to a separate component, and from that component, I want to get the information. So how will I send that data from one component? Whatever I'm clicking, on which image I'm clicking, that ID has to be taken and it has to be sent to a separate component, and in a different have to view it. How it is going to happen? Let's see. All right. So here from the very beginning, I'll be in the app component.html. If I am giving router outlet here, in app routing, I have to give empty as navbar. I don't want navbar as my initial page. I want my home component where all the images are displayed. I want that as my initial page. So what I have done, from my app component.html, I have called my navbar. Navbar is displaying me the top image gallery, sign up, and the toggle button with left side content. This is displayed in navbar. So left favorites, upload, achieved is displayed, and top image gallery and sign in is displayed. From here, I have used router outlet. So this router outlet will perform anything if this click is happening. But if there is no click, router outlet will perform empty. Empty is nothing but home component. What is there in home component? As we all know from yesterday, we are discussing this. Home component is fetching all the images and displaying. But see, as per our previous, there is no child here. There is no separate card here. If you want, I'll show you here. Sorry. Can you see the difference? Here I have something. I am having a child. I'm having a router outlet to load my child component here. But whereas in this case, I'm not having that part. Why? Because I don't want to load it as a child component. I want to take my selected image to a different component and view it in a different page. So what I'm doing in my TS file, let's look at that. There is no difference. You are just connecting to your image service, calling get images method. Get images method is going to same array, same data, same methods. Get images method is returning you an observable. So one by one, this array objects will be retrieved to you. So from that observable, I'm storing that observable in an image list. Now that image list I'm accessing in my HTML page. I'm making a for loop and I'm subscribing using a async pipe. Hope in my service session itself, I have said you, this is one of the way of subscribing. Pipe async is the way of subscribing. You don't want to forcefully unsubscribe here. It will be automatically unsubscribed. So you are subscribing in Angular template with async pipe. Let image of image list and you are subscribing it one by one. First object, second object, one by one it is coming, and one by one it is creating card content and it is displaying you. So how many ever datas are there in the for loop? I mean in the array, that many mat card will be created and that many image, that many content will be displayed. Hope this is clear. Any queries till now?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Okay. So from here, if you click on anything, any image, where it is taking. So you can see here, a router link is taking me to image view. Image view is my URL. That URL is appended with some more information, that is image ID. Suppose if I'm clicking on second image. Suppose if I'm clicking on second image, so 2 is taken. If I'm clicking on second image, 2 is taken. Image -view/2 is taken. Taken where? Taken to app routing module dot 2s. Sorry, TS. Image view slash colon 2. This is colon is the syntax. It has to be appended. It has to be appended. So you need this colon. This is the syntax. Image hyphen view slash colon some variable. So this variable will get the value and it will append it with this URL. Image view slash colon ID is one variable which we have declared. So what is stored in this variable? If we click on second image, 2 is stored. If we click on second image, ID 2 will be stored. Taking this information, it is going to image view component. What is there in image view component? Image view component is again having a activated root param, activated root, and it's a predefined service. Image service is our own service. Activated root dot param map. I'm hovering my mouse. Please read there. An observable. It returns you an observable. Param map is going to return you an observable that contains a map of required information, required and optional parameters specific to the root. What is that optional parameter we specified? Slash 2 we specified. Slash ID, slash colon ID. That is the parameter we have specified. So based on that parameter, whichever data is matching, it is going to the map supports retrieving single and multiple values. Single and multiple values from the same parameter. Based on that information, if I want to retrieve something, I need to use param map. I'm subscribing as it is returning an observable. See, the return type is observable. Subscribing to that, and I'm writing my callback function here. So what is this callback function going to do? It is getting data.get the ID. What is this ID? What is this ID?
Image ID.
The ID which we have passed here. The ID which we have passed here. So with the URL, there is some information coming. I'm taking that variable. And I'm getting the data from that variable. So data.get. Data is the entire image hyphen view slash colon ID. Entire information is there in the data. Entire information, entire URL is there in the data. From that, you are fetching the ID alone. From that, you are retrieving the ID alone. From that, you are retrieving the ID alone. So this question mark, it's an operator. It's a predefined operator. It will check for this information. It's a nullable or nullifiable operator, we will say this. If this getter is retrieving any value, then that value will be stored in this ID. If it is not retrieving any value, then 0 will be stored in this ID. Nullifiable operator, I suppose. I'm not very sure about the name of the operator. So this operator is a predefined operator, which is used to check what is returned by this getter method. If this getter method is returning any value, 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, 200, anything, that will be stored here. If it is returning null, in that case, 0 will be stored here. It's an operator of TypeScript. Now, if I'm clicking on second image, 2 is going to be stored here. Now I'm passing that 2 to my getImage method. I'm passing that 2 to my getImage method of my own service. Why I'm passing this plus? This plus is it's going to typecast here. See, if I'm removing this plus, you will get an error. See, what is the error? argument of type string or number is not assignable. Go to your service. Where is your service? Here. What your service want? What argument it require?
Number type.
Number.
It require a number. But here I'm not passing a number, it is saying, because it is not a number data type, it's a let data type. It may return anything. Get method may return anything. So I cannot store it directly in a number. Here it is considered as a string value. So I need to typecast it. To typecast, you don't want to use parseInt or parse to number, convert to number, to number. I don't want to use all those things. This plus operator will convert any string value to a number. Any number which is stored in string variable can be converted to a number variable with this plus sign. It is going to convert. Any number which is stored in string variable will be converted to number type with the help of this plus sign. I am passing this information, image service.get image to, I am passing it to my service. My service will get that information alone. As I have explained this yesterday itself, we will fetch, we will search, we will make a filter for all the elements in the array, and we will retrieve only one which is matching, and we are returning it as an observable. That observable is stored in image observable. And that is used in your HTML page. If the image observable is not null available, then store async, subscribe it, and store it in this image variable. From that variable, show the image, show the caption, show the URL, show the size, show the category. The same what we did yesterday, but the little difference is there we have just sent to the child component, and that is the nested component. Here we are sending it to the different component. It is not child or anything. It is to a different component. Is it clear? Should I repeat the entire flow once again?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So from app component, I am taking my app navbar. App navbar will display you only the top and side. So let's go there to app navbar. Will display you the top and side. And as a child of app navbar, I am having one router outlet. So as a child of this, I'm having one router outlet, which is as of now empty. Only when you click on image gallery, this link will work. Only when you click on the sign in button, this will work. Until you click on anything, this router outlet will take empty. Empty means it is taking me home component. Home component is nothing but it is getting my service. It is connecting to my service, getting all the images, returning an observable. And that observable is iterated one by one and returned and displayed as multiple images like this. Multiple images like this. Multiple cards are loaded. So how many ever times this for loop will run? 12 times, because 12 objects are there in my service. 12 objects are there in my service. So 12 times this will run. 12 images are displayed. 12 times card is created, 12 images are retrieved. Now, when you click on any image, on whatever image you are clicking, that image ID is captured here, image.id. And I'm appending it with image view. Image view is a URL / I'm appending that ID. So that ID is taken to app routing module. With that image view, whatever number coming, I'm storing it in the ID variable. Image-view / that variable I'm storing that number in this variable. So as it is not the direct value, or this should not be considered as a URL, it should have hold some value here. So I am declaring it with colon sign, which will hold some value. It's a syntax. Don't try to change it. It's a syntax. There is no other way. There is no other option to do this. So you are declaring a variable here to hold the value, dynamic value. So that value will be taken to image view component. In image view component, I'm in my right second line, I'm using an observable. I'm using an ngIf and I'm searching for this observable. So let's see in the TS file. What the TS file is doing, TS file, when somebody is loading this page, so where we are loading this page, if this link is coming, if this URL is coming, load this page, I'm saying. So when loading this page, what is the information coming? This URL is coming to me. So I'm taking that URL. How I will take that URL? With the help of this activated root. Activated root is an object of my activated root service. It's a predefined service. This service has an operator method. I can say method. It has a method called param map. When I call that param map, it returns me a service. It returns this dot activated root dot param map returns me an observable. I'm sorry, returns me an observable. That observable, when I subscribe, I will get one information. When I subscribe, obviously they will give me some information, right? What information it is giving? It is giving me the entire URL. Entire URL. What is the entire URL? Image-view / ID is the entire URL. What is stored in ID variable? Whatever number, whatever image you are clicking, that image's ID will be stored. 2, 3, 4, anything. So I am fetching that entire URL, storing in data. Now from that data, I am getting ID alone. What is this ID? This variable. This variable. This ID alone I'm fetching and I'm storing it and I'm checking whether it is null or not. If it is, this operator is going to check whether the retrieved information is null or not null. If it is not null, means there is some number, 2, 3, 4, some number is there. That number will be stored here. Suppose if it is null, it will store 0 in this. So it's a nullifiable operator. It will check for null values and replace it with 0. If I have clicked on 5th image, 5 is stored here. And with that information 5, as it is a subscribable, it is returning me a string. I want to convert it to number, so I'm using this plus operator. It's going to typecast a string to a number. And I'm sending it to my getImage method. GetImage method in my service is getting the image, whichever is matching with this ID. Using a filter, I'm making a condition, and whichever image is matching with this ID, that is returned back to my TS file as an observable. That is returned back as an observable. That I'm storing it in image observable. Image observable is holding one image, one object information. It is storing one object's information, and that information is being subscribed here, stored in a variable. I'm having one local variable image, and that variable is used here to get the URL, caption, size, category, and display everything. Is it fine? Could you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Previously,
Yes,
I have displayed here itself, but now I'm taking it to a different page. So how do I take to a different page? You should understand that also. Same way you are appending, but when you are storing it, how you are storing it in app routing, and how you are taking it in a different component, how from the URL you are separating that variable information alone, and you are sending it to a service and getting an observable and iterating back. So the very unique difference from the previous demo and this demo is this. You are using activated root param map. Activated root param map is used to get the parameter which is coming from previous page to this page, from home page to image view page. When you come, what is the parameter appended with the URL? That parameter is taken, and from that you are separating your ID alone. So this activated param concept has to be known to you. That's why this demo is being introduced. Any queries? I'm waiting for your queries.
And what is the difference between param map and param? What is the difference between param map and param?
One. What role you have?
Param
Param map.
map.
Param map is an observable that contains a map of the required optional parameters. So that is not the that is not your entire URL. It is an appended parameter, extra parameter. So to retrieve that parameter, you need the URL. For that, we use this param map. Whereas param is it will just take your root. It will just take your URL. Param is just going to take your URL. That's it. Whereas param map will help you to separate the informations. Because of using this param map only, my get of ID is working. I could able to get the ID separately. See here. Here I don't want to separate the ID because it is in the same child component. And it is in the same scope, an observable of matrix parameter scope to this root, as it is a child. As this is a child, I don't want to segregate it. It is not in the separate URL. It is not changing the URL. It is in the same URL as it is a child content. As it is a child content, I don't want to send it as a separate URL. It is not a different page. It is the same page. So I don't want param map here. If it is a different page, you will use param map. If it is in the same page, you will use params. Like this. Okay. Anybody else? Any other queries? I'll give this SRC to you. You can observe it once. I'm stopping. I will